Hello, dear viewers. This is Ulken Ui program on Kazakh TV channel. As the number of coronavirus cases was increasing and a state of emergency was declared, internet users were disseminating all kinds of information. What was the purpose? And who these disseminators were? Let's talk about those who became famous because of coronavirus and about those who benefited from the pandemic. There are a lot of rumors circulating out there. People say that the coronavirus...
I don't know. I don't comprehend this.
Initially, I didn't believe it.
It cannot be transferred via internet. It is ridiculous. It's all about hype. This is exactly what is happening here. It's a time for doctors to examine each other. See, this can become history. There are going to be casualties both among us and common people, meaning 6 seconds.
Will you compose new songs then?
Coronavirus, no, no, no. Coronavirus, go away.
And our first guest today is a virologist, Bolotbek Akılbekulu.
Bolotbek Baytursun, virologist, microbiologist, graduated with a master's degree from Asfendiyarov Kazakh National Medical University. Virologist, City Children's Clinical Infectious Diseases Hospital, microbiologist at the Ulken National Research Center for Extremely Dangerous Infections.
Welcome, Bolotbek. Bolotbek, as a virologist, you have definitely heard a lot of rumors about the COVID-19. Some say that the virus is being spread from helicopters. Others say that 5G is to blame for the coronavirus pandemic. There are all kinds of rumors. So, what do you think about the helicopter conspiracy?
It is fake information, and it should be obvious to everyone. I don't see how anyone can even discuss these things. It is ridiculous. COVID-19 cannot be spread from the above. It transmits from person to person. Many people risk being infected if they do not follow quarantine measures properly. However, the virus cannot be airborne since it is too heavy. So, it gravitates down and it can end up on different surfaces. It can land on tables, on the ground, and so on. And this is how people usually get infected. They touch all those surfaces, they get the virus on their hands, and they touch their own faces with their hands. This is the most common way of getting infected.
And now let's talk about this 5G conspiracy. How viable is this theory?
5G cannot cause viral infection. It is fake news. The virus cannot be transmitted via the internet because the virus is a living microorganism. Therefore, it cannot be spread via the internet. This is absurd.
Another popular theory is that the virus was man-made. People claim it was developed in the laboratory as a biological weapon. What can you say to that?
According to the official data, this virus started in China and the disease was called COVID-19. Then it spread further. As the Chinese say, a genetic mutation happened to this virus strain and then it was caught by an index patient. I firmly believe we all should stick to the official information. It is wrong to believe in fake news and rumors when we all have access to official data.
Bolotbek Akılbekulu, at the beginning, when the pandemic hit the most hard, it was difficult to have any blood tests, blood donations done, and almost impossible to have a PCR test done. Is this problem solved now?
A big medical laboratory has been opened in Almaty. It performs PCR analysis of up to 1,000 swabs per day. So the capacity is 1,000 people per day, and the results can be available on the day of the test. At the same time, additional equipment is being purchased for this laboratory, so it is planned to increase the number of tests from 1,000 to 5,000.
So for now, this problem is non-existent.
I guess we can say so,
And
yes.
the test prices are different everywhere. What about your laboratory?
The laboratory was opened at the Children's Infectious Disease Hospital, so basically the laboratory is based there. It is being funded by the state.
So the tests are free.
free, and even if the tests are free of charge, they're being performed on the contact basis with clinics. We analyze the test materials, and usually the result can be ready in one day. If a person comes for his test in the morning, then by the evening he will have his test result.
As the number of PCR test takers decreased.
Well, at present, yes. The number of people PCR test takers has decreased. It is only natural since the number of cases has decreased too.
And did you have a lot of troubles when the pandemic hit the hardest and so many people had the COVID-19? When there was lack of tests and places in the hospitals?
In the beginning, there were lots of difficulties. Now the situation has stabilized. We have made of stash now, a big stash, so we are ready for anything.
And for how long can the virus survive in the water?
As for water, according to the World Health Organization, the virus can survive in it for up to 2 days. Of course, providing that the water has a virus-friendly environment. It is believed that coronavirus can survive for 2 days at a temperature of 20 degrees.
And at what temperature does the virus die?
Well, any temperature above 60 degrees Celsius can be lethal for the virus.
And what about the lowest temperature?
Well, it depends. The virus can be frozen at 60 degrees negative.
Will we ever get rid of the virus?
I'm sure we will get rid of the virus eventually. The vaccine is currently being developed. We know that the whole world is trying to find a solution to this problem, so I believe we will get rid of it soon.
Many are afraid of this vaccine. There are a lot of rumors circulating among people.
They won't be vaccinating people before testing the vaccine properly.
There were vaccine tests in Russia. They have tested it on people already.
There are going to be tests. The results of the test will be analyzed. Then a legal framework will be developed. Only after all these procedures will be finalized, the vaccine will be given to the people.
So in your opinion, it's better to get vaccinated?
Of course, it is always better to get vaccinated if the vaccine is good, well tested and shows good results.
For some reason, this virus does not infect certain people. For example, I never got infected. However, my parents were and I was in the same house 24/7. But I never got sick.
Okay, now let me ask you a question. How did you know that you were not infected when your parents were sick?
I got tested. I had both ELISA and PCR tests made.
And you tested negative for both?
The results were negative. First, I didn't know they were sick. I was visiting them every day to take care of them. And of course, we were in close contact. A handshake, a kiss on the cheek, a hug, you know. A week later, we realized they were sick, so I had them tested, both ELISA and PCR. And then it turned out that they had coronavirus, whereas I didn't. Then a week later, I decided to get tested again. The result was negative.
Well, it depends on people's immunity. Every single case is unique, and the immunity defines how safe the person will be. However, I can say this: a person has to wait exactly 10 days before saying, I didn't get infected, I didn't get this new virus.
It hasn't been tested properly.
Exactly. It just hasn't been studied sufficiently. We usually consider a 10-day period, right? However, there is no sufficient evidence for that.
Thank you. We will talk about diet and food later, okay? And now let us watch the vox pop of the most common rumors and conspiracies that our journalists have collected. People were filming helicopters thinking that they were spreading coronavirus.
I have no idea what they were doing with helicopters, but I'm well aware that so many people were panicking. As for 5G towers, well, I believe it is kind of 50-50 damage. They are radioactive after all, but I don't think these towers can be spread the virus.
I heard that Bill Gates wants to implant microchips into people.
Some people say the virus was released into the water system. I heard people saying, don't drink water. I don't believe this.
You never know. If so, that's probably the case. All this amount of information is getting really annoying.
Yeah, I heard a lot of such information. It was said that they were spreading all kinds of viruses. For example, there are videos on the internet where viruses are being allegedly spread. People film it out and send it out.
We hear all kinds of things. We are afraid to spread it further. I mean, for example, some rumors say that those who got infected won't be able to have children in the future. But I don't believe it.
This disease doesn't exist. You just have to be self-confident and psychologically strong.
I was in the hospital for 20 days with the coronavirus. Everyone should drink somal. Mare milk should be drunk fresh.
Elon Musk's satellites are harmful. Satellites that he has launched, and whether it toxins, microreactions, 5G, whatever, they are harmful.
I didn't even believe the coronavirus existed, but now believe it, that it's out there. I had it too. My nose and my mouth lost sense of smell and taste. Then we thought we might have gotten sick at the same time. We thought that something like that had probably happened. We wear masks every day. And now let's welcome Marat Umarov, a well-known composer and singer who has benefited from the coronavirus.
Marat Umarov, singer, composer, honored artist of Kazakhstan.
Welcome.
Thank you. Well, shall I take the mask off now?
You can take your mask off, of course. How's your health?
Well, since I'm here right before you can guess that my health is fine. I was talking to people recently and I was saying health is everything. That's why, if we do not take care of ourselves these days, and if we don't take care of our immunity, you never know what might happen these days. And it only makes sense that wherever we are, there shouldn't be big groups of people gathering together, only 1 or 2 people at a time. That's why we obey the laws.
So have you had the COVID-19?
Of course I did.
How was it?
I got sick in June and it was relatively okay. At that time, to be honest, we were a bit careless. We were told, wear a mask, use antiseptic.
And you didn't wear a mask?
Yes, we were told to wear a mask. We did. However, I don't know why. One day I was sweating in the middle of the night and then I felt that my body temperature was rising. Then my wife gave me medicine, aspirin.
And you had your test done?
I had my test done. Nothing was wrong. Blood pressure was fine.
Do you work out? You look very young for your age, Murat Ağa. So I guess you take good care of yourself.
Not really. I'm very much into table tennis. I've even dedicated a song to my hobby.
I play tennis, you are play tennis, favorite game for me. We are play tennis, favorite game for you.
Amazing.
Well, as for the fact that I took younger, I guess it is because, as people say, it's a great happiness to be a composer, a singer, a creative person in general, and to do something in life you have calling for. That's what I think.
And then there was this song about the coronavirus. You have even traveled to the US with your song.
No, it wasn't because of the song. I went on that trip before the song.
But is it true that you are being invited by people more often now?
No, I've always been invited, even before that. We all know that the old wisdom, no man is prophet in his own land. Probably people haven't valued my work before, have never heard of my any songs before. Some of them may have just ignored them. There is a well-known wisdom, no man is a prophet in his own land. However, I've been a member of the World Association of Composers since 2000, Los Angeles, California.
Wow, that's incredible.
I think most of the media now know about it, some probably still don't, but I think it should be announced out loud, because this is the answer to the question of how Marat Umarov was invited to the United States, and this is true. I've been there 3 times before. I've been to Los Angeles.
Is this song popular there now?
No, actually, it's only now that the song is gaining the popularity. However, in total, I went to the US 3 times and performed it in 3 different places: New York, Las Vegas, and Los Angeles, California, where I was in December 2019. At that time, a retro festival was organized there. The association specializes in retro radio on the New York Times. I performed my song Anashim in English, and then it was that year that I was named the best composer of the year.
And yet the song Anashim did not become popular, but coronavirus Ket has become very popular.
The song Anashim is now gaining popularity. There is a huge demand for it because it was the first time we performed this song in English.
Do you translate your songs into English yourself?
Well, you see, it is not as easy as it may seem. Even if you have a proficient knowledge of English, you might translate lyrics well, but eventually it might not fit in the rhythm. It may not fit into the musical phrase. These syllables can even replace it, or you might end up not having enough syllables. So I have an extensive experience in this that I rely on.
So you are very fluent in English.
And still, it is never easy. It is a time-consuming process. You have to put a lot of thought into it.
You had your songs about mother and father, and then when you released the coronavirus song, the famous coronavirus Ket, it went viral. People were listening to it. However, there were divided opinions about the song. How do you feel about that?
I had no idea that I would cause such a stir with this song. I've never thought that if I write this song, it will turn into the challenge, and there was a reason for it.
So you didn't think it would become a hit?
I didn't think so. Nobody thought. I didn't think so. Thank God I was already famous among the Kazakh people. You all are familiar with my classic lyrical songs that have been out there for 30 years. But how did this all happen? I'm quite surprised to say the least. But it did happen. You know, the last December I was invited to visit the US.
By whom?
Kazakh diaspora. Mr. Baghdad from Miami, a representative of Kazakh diaspora, said that he wanted to found a Kazakh cultural center there in Miami. So he told me, if you could come to Miami on the 21st of March and perform your Nauri song, we would be able to organize 300 Kazakhs into a flash mob for your performance. So there will be Kazakhs from all over the US joining us the celebration. So they booked me a ticket. We agreed on financial matters. I got the invitation.
And then coronavirus happened.
I'll tell you everything now. So there was an invitation. Then while I was preparing from the 21st of March, I initiated a challenge. On the 8th of March, I went to Shymkent to congratulate my mother. How could I possibly not to go to Shymkent for the 8th of March for Mother's Day? When I went to Shymkent, I can still remember it clearly. It was the 11th of March. And you remember, this whole COVID-19 situation started in December, January, February, March. On the 11th of March, he called me from Miami late at night. It was very late here, indeed, and very early in Miami. So it was night here and it was an early morning in Miami. So what he said was, Marat Agha, our offer is still valid. However, Donald Trump, the President of the United States of America, has addressed the nation and his address postponed our plans for some time. Probably, we will still have our event next month, in April. The offer remains the same. We will rebook your ticket. We've had an agreement, so we expect you no matter what. But unfortunately, here we have a disease outbreak, a bacterial disease outbreak. It is called coronavirus. That's why there was a change in plan. Do you have the COVID-19 Kazakhstan too? And I replied, no, there is no such thing as coronavirus. We don't have it here in Kazakhstan. Stay away, coronavirus. Don't come any closer. Don't come here. Sorry?
It has affected the whole world.
Yes, everyone was sick. Stay away, coronavirus. Don't come any closer. Don't come here. Get lost, and don't infect our people. These were my emotions back then, and this is how the song was composed.
Now everyone is singing this song.
Well, first of all, it is because of the melody. Secondly, you know, Kazakhs are very susceptible to music, and I'm not surprised that it got so popular. So many people are now singing it. 3-year-old children and 99-year-old seniors. So the song has become a real hit. I had no idea it would be so hyped, you know, but it seems people loved the core message of the song. We don't need coronavirus here, don't come any closer. And you know, I was in anticipation of that Miami trip. Now we're celebration in Miami. This could have been my first time in Miami, and then this pandemic has become such a big obstacle. It came as an unpleasant surprise. So that's why I modified the song a bit. I added don't come any closer, don't infect us, because it was really astonishing to see this virus spreading throughout the whole world in a week, reaching the US.
So this whole kid, no, 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 this was your emotional message, right?
Yes, in Russia it was sung as net, net, net. In America it was sung as cat, cat, cat. Those who understand English were singing it as a cat. Then Donald Trump wrote in Twitter, while I'm spending $350 million on the fight against the coronavirus, one Kazakh composer is singing get lost, fighting with the COVID-19. At least, this is what I heard from people. However, no matter how earnest I was singing it.
Didn't you answer to his tweet?
Well, I didn't, but I'm now in touch with him. I'm communicating with the manager. I'm sure he is now preparing for election day. And yeah, there are many offers that I receive on a daily basis. I'd like to say one more thing. Probably the Kazakh people are not aware of this, so I will become kind of a news breaker here. I've been a member of the World Association of Composers since 2000. Therefore, all the visits to the Egypt, Turkey, Malaysia and other countries happened within the framework of this association. I was invited to Jibek this December
Thanks to the
too.
association.
Sorry?
Thanks to the association.
Yes, thanks to this community. We call it an association of composers, so they decided to organize a tour. They're organizing it now, and this tour is no longer related to the topic I mentioned before. So I obtained this 10-year US visa, and I also have plans to open a school in Miami. But you know about the obstacles, right? The thing is, I own an art center called Talent. I train my students there. My goal is to have the students reach the goals I've ever reached, you know.
So that is your idea. This is amazing. However, some people called it Hype.
I don't know anything about it. I have no idea what the hype is general.
How did your family perceive this?
My family didn't say anything so that nobody was supposed to be offended by this song. And as for my family, there wasn't any stir or anything. You know, we all had the disease. My daughter was sick too. My wife had the COVID-19. We got infected even so we were very careful. So there is no reason to say that this song was written with the sole purpose of hype, you know, or to become famous overnight. Everyone knows me. I have composed many other songs before, different songs, complex songs. And this song, well, I say, I hope children have fun with this song.
However, it became viral in our society.
And now, because it is so popular, I heard it was played at some weddings. Weddings, you know, and the house ended up paying fines for organizing these weddings. Due to the large number of these illegal activities, they were fined by law enforcement agencies.
So do you think now, why did I write this song?
No. This song is widely used at weddings. They changed the lyrics for Sweet Bride, for example. Because, you know, this whole coronavirus thing is not really relevant to the wedding theme. At first, I was against it. Then, since I'm the author, they reached out to me because they wanted to apologize. It had something to do with copyright laws, and that is great. I mean, if they didn't reach out to me, my lawyers would pay them a visit and ask them some questions. That's why I forgave them, of course, because I wanted them to sing my song at weddings. However, they were fined by law enforcement agencies. There were various inconveniences.
Well, at least you don't have any regrets about the song.
No, why would I? In the song, I explicitly say, coronavirus, go away, and if some people think come to us, instead the joke is on them. I don't see any grounds for regret. This song has become
That's
a word
incredible.
of mouth. In my song, I explicitly say, get lost, don't come near us, do not approach us, and some military folks, we all know they exist. They sing, come to us instead of get lost. So they're just attracting those bad things and it's on them. That's all I can say. Also, I want to say we know that we're all different. And it's said in Kazakh, all 5 fingers are not the same. So we can really try on address every single complaint, right? I believe this song has a future. Why will you see in the future?
It can become a part of the history.
No, it's not about that. It's not that I wanted to write a coronavirus song in order to later in the history books.
No, I mean, obviously all your songs will become a historical heritage. And among them, this song too.
I know, I will say it again now. I thank God for his blessings. I was blessed to become a composer. I was blessed by Shamshi Aga. I can't sing without my melodies. And I have this talent for composing tunes. I feel this responsibility before Shamshi Aga, before my people, you know, before anyone.
And if this song will become history, why do you think this will happen?
No, I don't think this will become history within the coronavirus context. It better the best way.
Ber. Жарқырасың күн нұрындай айнала. Жарқырасың күн нұрындай айнала.
That was great. Are you on social media?
Of course I am. Once this pandemic is over, I'm sure we'll have more happy days, more incredible and amazing days, so that's why this has to enter the history books.
Let's hope so. Now, so many people believe that in order to become popular, one has to produce a lot of hype. How do you feel about that?
No, I'm not interested in these things like that. I'm not like that. I have a mission. In my opinion, I'm a bearer of this important musical mission granted to me by God. The mission is all about educating young people, about inspiring them to have patriotic feelings about their motherland, their country, their parents. Now, of course, I try to keep up with the time and compose modern songs too. I think about this a lot too. For example, I take some old songs and add a modern twist to them, you know, a modern arrangement. Only yesterday I had my creative evening event on Kabar channel. My songs are sung by young people, and that's excellent. I'm very grateful to them. I enjoy modern style, this modern format. Of course, this is the demand and supply of the modern time, but I can compose a melody that will be too simplistic, you know, a melody that only has 1 chord, 2 chords, 3
But
chords.
it seems to me that simple songs are more popular today.
I don't know, probably it has to do with the coronavirus.
Kit, нет, no, things like this,
As
you
I
know?
told you before, this was my way of expressing my feelings. When I received that message from the USA, how else was I supposed to react? Why on earth did this optical appear in my
And what
life?
do you think about Zarina? Does she need more songs like this?
She definitely needs them. I will compose
Those
them
simple
for
songs.
her.
So you will
6
compose
seconds.
those songs.
6 seconds.
Okay, then we will wait for
Only if
it.
she will need. For now, she doesn't, because she writes her own songs now, modern songs. And Azamat too writes his songs every now and then often. I told him he was doing a great job, and he was blushing when he heard this. So next time when he wrote something, he didn't tell me, and I think this is great what he does. He composed very nice, modern, positive songs, and I always tell him to keep
Excellent.
composing your
Now,
songs.
there are no wedding celebrations whatsoever. Most of the singers are stuck at home. They can't perform outside. They can't perform at gigs. So what is your idea of managing this business now? What's the best way to do it today? What can you tell us about this as an artist?
I can't speak for everyone, for all my colleagues, so I will speak for myself. If you remember, long ago, I was the first person to educate students in a new capital. I remember when I visited Astana for the first time, I presented my song Ulken Ui Astana to the president. It was right when the city was renamed. So it was then that I opened my school. And of course, the teacher is nothing without his students. So when I opened my school, so many students flocked
Yes,
there.
I know.
So since then, I have had a lot of students. Now, of course, this school is a business too. There are lots of children.
And did you shift to online learning?
Sorry?
Did you shift to online learning?
We teach online these days, yes, and starting September, kindergartens, including small and large groups, all had to shift to online learning, and we teach all kinds of subjects, as I told you. Also, I signed a memorandum with HTC College in Houston, Texas, USA. It is a franchise, so now we have a partnership agreement with the college.
Меморандум қол қойдым. Ондағы франшиза, яғни біз жаңағы байланыс, достық байланыста. Мысалы,
So you educate your students, that's great. But Marat Agha, during the pandemic, many singers lost their jobs. They lost their money, right? Has the number of your school students decreased? For example, we know that many people dreamt of becoming singers, but now we all see people of this profession struggling. So has the demand for your classes decreased?
Well, you see, not everyone who comes to my school is a singer. Some people visit the studio of our curiosity. Some would come and record some music for money. And these people are not professional singers. This is what I call a one-day popularity. People who are all about hype, as you were saying earlier. So this is about hype, It is the same thing. Their popularity is not everlasting. It exists today. But it may cease to exist tomorrow. However, all students are different. And some of them are not like this. Their eyes are sharp, their spirit is strong, they have big aspirations. And these kinds of students are those we work with. Those who have potential, who are kind, have hearts of gold, have strong spirit and whose faith is strong. As I mentioned before, the reason I want to open another school in the United States is to connect with talented young people there. To build this networking, Here is an example. Our beloved Dimash. Imagine how many talented young we have here and not so many of them are yet to be discovered. It is the innate talent I'm talking about. Just think for a moment, imagine if we discover this new talents, this will be good news for the whole country. And these discoveries are going to be very fruitful, I'm sure. I was really surprised last time I went to the US. I went there to translate my songs Anashim and Akyarman. And I thought to myself, why did I wait for so long? Because sometimes strangers perform my songs and they want to buy my songs.
So you say they like your songs to an extent they want to buy them. This is amazing.
That's why we need to write songs for our composers and sell them abroad before foreigners come here and steal our songs.
Marat Agha, you've just mentioned that one of your songs was translated into English.
It was.
So can we please listen to your song here?
Of course.
Great.
Coronavirus, no, no, no. Coronavirus, go away. Coronavirus, don't come close to me, go away. Coronavirus, no, no, no. Coronavirus, go away. Coronavirus, don't come close to me, go away. Go away. Go away. Coronavirus, go away. Go away. Coronavirus, go away. Жақындама, жолама.
Супер.
That was amazing. Thank you so much, Marat Agha. Well, dear viewers, let's wait for better days to come. Since the beginning of the pandemic, countries sought treatment for the virus. People have used a variety of substances. As people were becoming more desperate, charlatans' businesses were flourishing. And while some people were taking drugs, others resorted to non-traditional medicine. Let's find out how our fellow citizens treat coronavirus today. Everyone was sick back then. Many of them haven't seen their doctors.
We drank tea with lemon, we inhaled soda solution, and we wiped our bodies with iodine or alcohol. We turned to non-traditional medicine. We drink tea with the raspberry jam, we drink tea with the lemon.
It's necessary to use fat tail grease. This is the cure. We are Kazakhs, so there is no better treatment than that. If I get sick, I drink somal and spread fat tail grease all over my body.
Well, very hot broth is a great remedy. Also, raspberry tea is good too. It is a natural product that boosts immunity. Also, dog grease can be helpful.
Yes, these days people drink a lot of kumis and shubat to cure the coronavirus. Also, rinsing your throat with salt and baking soda solution is a great treatment.
Dairy products.
Slimes, маймен.
We use grease, lamb grease, goose grease.
We rinse our throats with soda and salt. We used all kinds of things like baking soda, for instance, fat tail grease, garlic, vitamin C, ginger, and lemon.
No comments.
We all know that when the coronavirus hit the world, pneumonia spread. This resulted in the surge of cases. People in critical condition were seeking medical help and taken to hospitals. Today, we will put an end to the fake information that is circulating online. First of all, let's talk about the definition of pneumonia. To do this, we invited a pulmonologist to our studio. Welcome, Abzal Yesinbekula.
Abzal Malbaskanov, thoracic surgeon, physiatrician, pulmonologist, head of infectious diseases department, Physiatry Pulmonology Center, Almaty, graduated from Asfendiyarov Kazakh National Medical University, thoracic surgeon of the highest category, physiatrician, pulmonologist, master of medicine, excellence in healthcare title awardee.
Welcome.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
Good, I'm good now.
Did you have the COVID-19?
Well, I'm good. I didn't get sick. We're taking good care of our health now, and you know, the disease is really as bad as it sounds. But thanks to my colleagues, a lot of work has been done. It was quite a struggle, to be honest. And you know, I guess because of this hard work, we can now say that we have managed to control this epidemic. Of course, we all remember the times when it was so challenging, so hard. But today we are ready more than ever. We'll continue our work, and I believe now we don't have any fear unlike it was before.
Дайынбыз, әрі қарай да жұмысымызды жалғастыра береміз. Енді ондай қорқыныш жоқ деп айтсақ та болады.
So you've just mentioned that you didn't get sick. You said you were careful. What were the measures you were taking in order to protect yourself?
Well, after all, it is an infection, right? And we have our protective gear, protective clothing. We have our own toolkit when it comes to battling the infection. You know, it all started in China, then the COVID-19 spread to Europe, and we live in the digital age, right? So we carefully studied out our colleagues from different countries were wearing. We studied scientific articles and recommendations on PPE usage, and then we developed our own protective system. Our method has shown good results because we know that so many of our fellow doctors are struggling to survive all over the world. That's why.
Nevertheless, some of them became victims in this war, right?
Енді өкінішке орай, енді әрқашанда сол.
Unfortunately, there has always been a war. We can call it a war. But if we leave, ordinary people will suffer. You have no idea how tired a doctor or a nurse can be after seeing too many patients. But we have to be strong. Also, you know, there were times when I didn't dress properly for work. But the situation is different now. Also, there were times when patients would become angry, so they would rip off the mask or goggles from the doctor's faces. There are many contributing factors. We cannot be prepared for every single one. But this is all happening only at the beginning. I can say that this is not the case anymore today.
Қазір талдақтап жинақтай алмаймыз. Ол басында болған дүние, қазіргі таңда ондай жоқ деп айтсақ болады.
You are one of the frontline doctors. Are you afraid? Is it scary?
Енді
We're only humans after all. We all are afraid. There is no one who is not afraid. But this has become the time for our doctors and nurses to prove their worth. We couldn't afford falling short of people's expectations. Now you see, we are the Kazakh people, and this is our ancestors' upbringing. It was said before, nothing can stop you from protecting your motherland, not even fire. So being mindful of that, we continue to struggle and fight. And here we are today, talking to you in your program.
Were there any people who refused to cooperate?
Yes, there were some. However, then they realized their mistake and come back to us again. And they joined us, and we all continue to work as united front, together.
As a united front, you say. There is a lot of information on the internet today. There are those who speak about real facts and those who don't. There have even been rumors that the coronavirus was spread by people from helicopters. Can you please tell us, how can this virus transmit from person to person?
Well, information on coronavirus transmission is everywhere. It's on the internet, on TV, you can hear it on the radio.
And still, there are people who spread these rumors.
Yes, well, to put it bluntly, what is being said everywhere is that the virus can be transmitted through airborne droplets. When a person speaks or coughs, viruses can be transmitted through airborne droplets. They can fly up to 1.5 of even 2 meters. That's why we want to keep the social distance. That's why it is required to wear a mask. Also, in many cases, this virus can land on the surface of the table or any other surfaces, on the floor and so on. Therefore, it's always advisable to carry out disinfection measures. And when it comes to gossip and rumors, well, it is understandable because we all now have our smartphones, we all are worried in whether it is a child or a grown-up.
Have you personally received any of this fake information?
I have. I received quite a lot of these messages, to be honest. Well, sometimes I would feel angry, sometimes I would just smile. This is life and anything can happen. There are all sorts of people out there. And of course, there are all kinds of information out there too. Some people just can't help themselves. They need to speak up, to spread rumors, conspiracy theories, you name it. These people can have different reasons for this. Some of them just want to make a name of themselves, or they are after what is called hype, right? In fact, there are many young people who thrive on this cheap sensationalism, this hype. How do I put it? Famous people have been talking about this disease since January and February, right on the epidemic began. This was happening in China, in Wuhan, in Italy. The number of cases was increasing. People were dying, and at first, we were all scared. Everyone was scared. Everyone stayed at home. People were observing all precautions when the quarantine began. Remember, the people who lived in the apartment buildings, they would go out to their balconies, cheer their neighbors up, sing songs and so on. But then when everything has changed, people were tired of waiting. They wanted to go out, to socialize, to enjoy spring. And you know, there were some people, I don't want to mention any names, famous people we all know, people on Instagram. They were spreading rumors saying, have you ever met infected people? How can you believe that a virus exists if you didn't see anyone being sick? So this was their usual narrative, and you know, their followers believed this nonsense. Also, there were of course a lot of people who didn't have trust in official healthcare, illiterate, ignorant people, and those people were following celebrities' recommendations religiously. Eventually, we know how this has ended. This was a catastrophe. We doctors have faced so many challenges because of this, all this information, and there were deaths, and it was only then the people have finally believed us. However, there are still a lot of so-called COVID dissidents. Those are predominantly young people. And you know, this is because young people usually don't get sick badly. They usually experience only mild cases of corona, or sometimes they can have asymptomatic causes of corona. So it is usually middle-aged people with underlying health conditions who get affected the most, also the elderly people. And of course, young people are being careless. They think, okay, I only had this fever for 2 days, I popped a pill and I got better. So there is nothing serious about the infection, but now everything is different, we know that. And in most cases, elderly people suffer the most.
There were a lot of rumors that the COVID-19 virus was released into water systems.
Yes, let me address this too, and the plain conspiracies.
Helicopters, yes. So for how long can the virus survive in the air?
Now, the virus can be transmitted from a person to person. For example, if a person who is sick is walking outside, those viral airborne droplets that he emits that come out of his mouth, they can die under the sun rays in an hour and a half. But the funny thing is that these conspiracy theories, they are not intrinsic to Kazakhstan. They are everywhere, in every country in the world. Conspiracy theories come up with all kinds of crazy ideas, but some of these ideas are nonsense. Say, according to scientists, the size of the single coronavirus cell is 2 nanometers. Even if someone could have gathered all the coronavirus cells from the entire globe, this mass would only weigh like less than a kilo or something. And now, how on earth could this helicopter theory be viable? Because if the virus was indeed spread from the helicopters, they would have needed tons of virus material, and this amount of viruses simply does not exist. There were disinfectants that were sprinkled there. It was also announced on TV in Siberia, don't leave your homes, disinfection procedures will be carried out. And also, if we think logically, the person who allegedly was sprinkling the virus, there was no he could have survived this. I mean, he would have been poisoned too, right? It's a nonsense story. And as for the poisoning of drinking water, we all have heard these audio messages, audio recordings, where some woman was yelling, don't drink the water. If you drink it, you will get sick. Your children will be intoxicated. They will be poisoned. Who is that woman? Have we seen her face? What was the purpose of her message? Is there any substantial evidence that can prove that her message was right? If there was any evidence, we would have known it by now, right? It would have infiltrated mass media, social media, and so on. If you make such claims, come forward with evidence, with facts. Otherwise, those rumors are only making the whole situation worse, because there are so many naive people ready to believe anything.
So in this case, words can cause a lot of harm, right?
Exactly, these people are false prophets. They appear out of nowhere with their fake claims, taking advantage of difficult times. I don't know why, what is the reason behind it, whether it is for some kind of profit of our popularity, but...
You have just mentioned earlier, I'm sorry to interrupt, you said that there was a lot of such fake information abroad too. So what kind of fake information was popular abroad?
Well, speaking of fake news, you know, there are many very rich people in the world, businessmen, scientists, those who help people in need, and it was said that Bill Gates is planning to destroy humanity.
We heard this too.
Yes, and I'm neither pro Bill Gates, not against him, you know.
There were also rumors about biological weapons.
Yeah, this rumor was popular too, but it doesn't really matter now. And you know why? Because even if we try to look for the origins of the virus and we try to find out, this is not our priority today. Our main priority today is to get rid of this epidemic and survive. The second goal we have to is find a cure for this epidemic, like a new vaccine or something. And it is only then after we will find the cure and the epidemic will stop. And only that we will have time for throughout research. Where did it come from? Why did it come into our lives? And so on.
So now we need to focus on stopping the disease.
Yes.
As you have mentioned, fake information was spread abroad too. To find out more about this, let's watch the video feature that was prepared by our journalists. We all know that the majority of fake news we receive on WhatsApp. It's true that it's difficult to distinguish between true and false information. It's especially unfortunate that such fake information spreads really fast in the cases of emergency. False information about the coronavirus was spread not only in our country but all over the world. For example, there were rumors that masks from China were poisoned, that pets can transmit coronavirus, that coronavirus is more dangerous for people with blood type 2, that poppies can be used as a treatment, that one can get infected with corona by eating bananas, or that bats are dangerous and can spread COVID-19. Therefore, from now on, anyone who spreads false information about the coronavirus can be fined, and in some cases, can even be imprisoned. While we were watching the video feature, another guest joined us in our studio. Ақбота Болатбек қызы.
Ақбота Kubeyeva, journalist.
Ақбота, how are you? Good morning, I'm fine now. I had coronavirus before, but I'm all good now. It seems that I recovered completely. But truth to be spoken, I was really sick before. Were you scared? It all started with the fear. I felt like crying all the time. It was such an uncomfortable and incomprehensible situation. I was afraid literally of anything. I was anxious and worried. These were predominant feelings. You know this fear you have before the exam when you're about to enter the class. So it's very similar. I was really anxious. I couldn't understand what was happening. Then a few days later, I started coughing. I was coughing a little. Then on the third day, my body temperature rose. It was like 37, 38 for 2-3 days. And did you believe in coronavirus before this happened to you? You know, initially I didn't believe it. Then after the pandemic started, I believed it. Did you take the PCR test? No, I didn't take it. Then how did you know for sure? The first reason I did not take the PCR, well, actually I went to the clinic to take the PCR test, but the queue was very long. I was sweating excessively. I felt this weakness and the queue was too long, so I waited for about an hour and then I just could not wait any longer. So I left. Абзал Дүйсенбекұлы, what do you think? Did Akbota have COVID-19 or she didn't?
Well, judging by Agbota's words, she says she was anxious, and you know, these panic attacks, they happen, for instance, to third-year medical school students when they start taking clinical classes. They may develop and experience the symptoms of the disease they are learning about. So it is not advisable to think of every single disease as of coronavirus. Because at the time during summer, we were exposed to cold air from air conditioning. So those people who were exposed, they could have.
Бізде мына жаздың кезінде кондиционер көп қолданды. Көп қолданған кезде адамдардың өзі
Not necessarily been sick.
They might have not been sick at all. Agbota herself just said that she didn't take the PCR test. However, even if the PCR test is not available, one can always take the ELISA test in the laboratory to test whether you have COVID-19 antibodies or not. And you are not alone here, you know. I had patients coming and complaining about how sick they felt. However, the ELISA test didn't know the presence of antibodies in their blood.
қанында антиденелер табылмай жатыр.
Well, I didn't take the PCR test, but I took the CT scan.
Well, then it is a completely different thing.
After I had the CT scan, the result came in 3 days and it showed 40% of lung damage. And doctors from Russia was saying that even if you have a slight cough or bronchitis, it can all be considered as coronavirus.
Жоқ, енді
Well, not necessarily. There are thousands of different diseases in the world. The same is true to our country. Not everyone who has a cough or fever is COVID-19 positive. There were such cases, you know. When children had fever, they were immediately taken to the hospital and they queued up for the coronavirus test. And it has only increased their risks of actually catching the infection. Because, you know, a small child may have a toothache. There may be other intestinal infections. We eat lots of fruits and vegetables in summer. If anything, it can be diarrhea and so on. Therefore, not all diseases and symptoms can be attributed to the coronavirus. That's why we should always consult a doctor, find out the exact diagnosis, and administer the treatment we need.
Akbota, did you lose your sense of smell and sense of taste? To be honest, I still can't taste and smell properly, and I'm still anxious. Although it's been a while since I recovered, I still can't smell anything. Why?
Well, you see, you were saying yourself, did you admit yourself in the hospital or yourself isolated at home?
I was staying at home.
енді мына үйде емделген соң шамалы жүйесіз түрде емделген болуы мүмкін.
Now, if you were staying at home and treated yourself, this has probably been unsystematic. You know, any infection has its peak, and after reaching this peak, the body recovers quickly if all the necessary drugs were administered. And now, if we treat the diseases unsystematically, the body...
But everyone back then had to self-isolate at home. There were no places in the hospitals.
Well, how can I put it? Ambulances were running, right? Doctors were seeing their patients at home, and of course, according to the patient's condition, if the situation was serious, patient could immediately call an ambulance and get admitted into the hospital, whereas patients with moderate or mild symptoms were staying at home.
немесе жеңіл түрде болса, үйде емдеуге іс-шараларын жүргізіп отырды.
May I ask a question, please? So we those who were not very sick were told to stay at home, to resort to self-treatment, right? But no one told me anything about the treatment, what medicines to take, what to do. All over the country, whether on WhatsApp or on social media, people were exchanging prescriptions, advice, recommendations. So what did you do, Akbota? Well, as for me, I did what I was told to do by my mom. I used her advice. I did baking soda inhalations. Is this a right treatment?
Well, first of all,
Baking soda, right? Baking soda, right? Yes. Did you drink it or what? No, I just mixed it with hot boiling water, covered the mixture with towel, and let it sit for a while. So how good is this treatment?
well, let me answer for the first question about what Akbota said. The ambulance was working 24 hours a day, but due to the large number of callers, we had our own hotlines in each of the clinics, and each clinic responded to do everything. Did we advertise those hotlines? There was an announcement on all TV channels. There was another hotline provided by the Ministry of Healthcare. and our administration did the same.
әкімшіліктікі болып отырды.
I know there were hotlines, but it was really difficult to reach anyone.
In other words, in most cases, people think that if they did not receive a response when they only called once, then this means nobody cares about their health. Someone who needs help for real will always get it. Persistency is the key. As for baking soda, it is an alkali. It's something you would normally use in the kitchen, so to speak. What is the purpose of this alkali? Some people drink it to reduce the acidity of their stomach when it gets irritated. And if we smell this alkali, it can burn the mucous membrane in the nasal cavity, so it can have a negative effect. Now, Akbota, you said it's been a month or more after you recovered.
I guess more than a month.
Yes, it actually happens that for quite some time patients may not have regained the sense of smell or taste here.
So you say it's baking soda to blame.
болуы мүмкін себебі бұл химия.
Well, this could have contributed to this, because it is a chemical. It can also cause chemical burns, you know. It takes about 2
жаңағы коронавирустен иістің
to 4 weeks for a person to recover from this coronavirus. It is the same for Kazakhstan and other countries of the world. And you know, if there is a chemical burn, it can definitely take longer.
ал енді химиялық күйдіруден кейін орнына бірден келе қоюы ол сәл ұзақтау болуы мүмкін.
So did the soda thing help you, Akbota? To be honest, I felt a little better, but I lost my sense of smell even before these inhalations. Sometimes I can smell certain things and sometimes I can't. And the same is true for my sense of taste.
енді
Now, so many people advocate for folk traditional remedies, but I don't fully support it, you know. Our people have always been smart and wise. Long ago, they used all kinds of herbs as treatment, and I strongly doubt that baking soda can be considered a folk remedy. There was no such treatment in the time of our ancestors. There was herbal treatment. There were chiropractors. There were different types of treatment that were used by our people. There are treatments that date back to the time of Ibn Sina, the time of Al-Farabi, or Hoja Ahmed Yasawi. Nowadays, there are so many frauds, you know. People now would try anything. Like crickets, for instance, some even buy them for 50,000 tenge per jar.
Crickets?
Yes, can you imagine? People mix it with honey and eat it, thinking it might help. I know that Chinese, for instance, eat flies, scorpions, toads, and so on. But Chinese get sick too, right? I mean, they eat lots of crickets, toads, snakes, they eat all kinds of herbs, and still they get sick too. So the question is, can we consider these things as remedy?
Exactly. It's impossible.
Many also say that eating a lot of spicy food helps. There is this misconception that spicy food can accelerate the recovery process.
As well as onion, ginger, and parsley. I drank a juice like this, mixed all these ingredients. Can you elaborate on this? Well, it was like onion juice, warm milk, baking soda, and 3 drops of iodine. Our relatives sent this mixture to us, so I was drinking this mixture hot, as it was advised by our relatives. Do you think it was okay?
былай айтайыншы.
Well, you know, as people say certain things can be both a remedy and a poison, it all depends. We know that normally no one buys too many ginger and lemons. And you know, we all have salespeople we know and trust, right? People we usually buy groceries from. And they are all business people. Whenever you go to the shop.
жүргізуші не істейді? ана әрқашанда дүкенге барсаңыз, жаңағы жем.
So you say that it's salespeople who disseminate this fake information.
It's quite possible. For example, if you go to get vegetables and fruits, if you say you are sick, a salesperson will tell you, no, drink this, it will help. And we see bloggers and diviners shooting videos where they tell us about all kinds of recipes, they recommend all kinds of concoctions that will allegedly make you stronger, healthy, and so on. And there is this psychological effect, you know. Whenever you receive a WhatsApp message from a friend or relative who swear by those recipes, you tend to believe this, right? People spread this information and then you spread it further and
And is
further.
it possible that if you believe strongly in these remedies, you can actually get better?
Do you remember how much the price of ginger has been increased? It was even more expensive than dollars. This is because the disease has created demand for it. But this demand was created artificially. There were no actual grounds for it.
But the ginger helps for real, right? I mean, whenever I had a flu, I would mix ginger and honey, and it has really helped me.
When you had the COVID-19?
No, not when I was sick with COVID-19, before that.
Well, in general, when it is cold outside, we should eat more products that contain vitamin C and other acidic substances because it can help neutralize the infection in our system. So once the infection is neutralized, the healing process can speed up significantly. And yeah, speaking of the price again, as I have mentioned before, baking soda is an alkali. It eliminates acidity. Bacteria are killed when acid builds up in the body. As infection progresses in your body, the acidity begins to rise and you lower that acid again with the alkali. So does the infection go away quickly or it lasts? Ask yourself this question.
lasts.
It's the same mechanism as digestion. You know that acid in our stomachs helps us to digest food, right? So when we eat lots of processed food, for instance, we feel acid building up. So we wash the food down, the beverage like borjomi. Or we suppress the acidity when we drank this baking soda solution. And this acid can actually be helpful, you know. For example, sometimes we eat fruit without wasting it, now mechanically.
So we can't drink this baking soda solution, right?
Well, sometimes actually you can and should.
In what cases, for instance?
When there is no medicine you can take and your stomach is irritated.
However, this is not something that we can use against coronavirus.
It won't help against
See,
corona,
Bota,
no.
you shouldn't have taken it. Well, apart from that, I was also told to blow balloons. They said it might help. Balloons? Okay, I have a balloon. Is it good to blow balloons?
It is actually a good breathing exercise, blowing balloons. It can cause no harm. Well, you see, the virus often affects the vascular system. Coronavirus causes the formation of blood clots in the vascular system. COVID-induced pneumonia is not a regular bacterial pneumonia because it causes the formation of blood clots in the lungs. That's why it progresses from the bottom up. In our lungs, we have these small air sacs called alveoli that take up the oxygen and exchange it for the carbon dioxide. And now, when there is a bacterial infection, the alveolar sac is usually filled with sputum and pus, so the person begins to suffocate because the oxygen cannot enter his vascular system. However, in the case of this coronavirus, the alveolar sacs are emptied at first, and the blood vessels outside the alveoli are getting affected. The blood clots from there, and so the incoming oxygen cannot enter the bloodstream.
And is it a good idea to blow balloons after you have recovered completely?
Okay, so let me explain this to you. These alveolar sacs stick together after the external pressure rises after the formation of those blood clots. And that is when we recommend our patients to blow balloons. Because when we blow the air inside the balloon, it increases the pressure in the lungs and the oxygen can enter the alveoli. It is good for increasing lungs capacity and elasticity. When the alveoli stick together, there is a risk of scarring. That's why we recommend doing breathing exercise that include rapid breathing, balloons inflating, and everything in between. In some cases, especially after the lung surgeries, the lungs stick together and post-surgery patients can have trouble breathing. At that time, we recommend those people to blow balloons. This can help them to recover after their lung surgeries.
So this is just what the doctor ordered.
Yes, I strongly recommend
And what
it.
can you say about this adraspan thing? This folk remedies, as you said. It's said that the spread of COVID-19 can be prevented if people inhale adraspan smoke.
As for the history of adraspan, our grandfathers used it, of course. As a child, I was raised by my grandparents, and of course, I saw them use it on multiple occasions. As for the adraspan issue, we all know that adraspan has a very sharp and pungent smell, and we also know that many folk remedies are based on wormwood, and many people in our country have a strong wormwood allergy. There are many diseases that can be triggered by allergies, usually respiratory diseases. Allergies can cause bronchial asthma, respiratory allergies. In most cases, in the spring or autumn, many people do not burn wormwood or adraspan, you know.
And when it's blooming.
Allergies can occur during blooming season, so what can happen if we burn it and inhale the smoke? Shortness of breath and bronchospasm can lead to an immediate death. That's why.
Understood. It has to be used with great care.
It should be used carefully and for a good reason. However, adraspan should not be used to treat influenza or coronavirus.
Abzal Dusimbekula, can you please again comment on the fake news from abroad?
Well, as I said before, so many people are now blaming Bill Gates, right? These conspiracy theorists claim that he wants to implant microchips into people and control us. And that's where we had problems. You know that PCR test is performed by taking nasal swab, right? And we had problems with our test takers. Some of them didn't want us to take nasal swabs because they thought we were trying to implant a microchip or something. They would fight with us, you know. This is unbelievable. I'm telling you, thousands of people have taking PCR tests. No one has a microchip implant, okay? No one is controlling these people. They are free. So please don't interrupt us when I'm performing PCR tests, okay?
Абзал Дүйсенбекұлы, thank you so much for your input and for your efforts in battling the dissemination of false information. Thank you very much indeed. I wish you good luck. Akbota, thank you very much. As we all clearly understand now, this unforeseen global catastrophe has shown us all that there is nothing more precious than health. That's it for today. We will see you next time in Ulken Ui on Kazakh TV channel.